Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mapping Your Education. My name is Tara, and I'm the Manager of Student Recruitment Events here within the University of Toronto, Mississauga within Student Recruitment, and I'm happy to be hosting this event this evening. Tonight's event is one of my personal favorites. And for someone who is also, just like you, trying to navigate higher education, the path that I took that led to my career today is something that I don't take for granted, trying to remember what I did from those very first steps when I was just like you. I'm truly happy to be with you this evening, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with each of you about higher education. But enough about me. Let's get into why we're here. Tonight's agenda is simple. We'll start by discussing what to consider when applying to university, what prerequisites in higher education that you might need for the pathways that you're about to navigate. And then we're also going to hear firsthand from a senior student staff and about her academic journey and her student experiences. We're also going to be joined by a representative from the Career Center who will also share about the holistic student experience and how you can gain the most out of your time within university. So let's bring up everybody to do introductions. I'm joined tonight by Bianca Gaspini, a recruitment officer, April Forbes, a career outreach consultant, and Flandra Gregory, who is our senior student ambassador. As we go through this amazing webinar tonight with you, we're also joined by two senior student staff in the chat, Anita and Jess Karen, who are ready to answer any questions that you might have. So at any point in the webinar, please feel free to put things in the chat. We are going to try to answer questions at the very end, and we'll try to answer as many that we can live. Before we officially begin, I'd like to take a minute to recognize the land at which University of Toronto stands and share a brief personal reflection. The University of Toronto is located on land in deep Indigenous history and ongoing presence. As someone who was born and raised in Canada, I recognize that I benefit from systems that were built on these lands. Acknowledging this reminds me of my responsibility to keep learning, reflecting, and growing. And for me, this land acknowledgement is both an expression of gratitude and the commitment to the approach of my work with care, respect, and genuine dedication and inclusion in our community. So let's begin tonight's event, and I'll pass it over to Bianca. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Tara, and good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us tonight. As Tara mentioned, my name is Bianca Gaspini, and I'm a recruitment officer at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Before we get started, I wanted to share a little bit about myself and my experience, as I think it might resonate with you guys that are here tonight. When I was in high school and I was thinking about post-secondary education, I didn't really have a clear roadmap. I was the first in my family to graduate from university. My mother chose a college pathway, and my father didn't pursue any formal education past high school. So while they were very supportive, a lot of the processes and decisions that I was facing were new to all of us. There were a lot of unknowns, and at times I had to seek out information and piece things together on my own. So if you're early on in this process and feeling uncertain as well as I was about those next steps, please know that this is completely normal and you're not alone. So one of the reasons I'm very passionate about speaking to you all about this is that it's kind of a full circle moment for me. And my purpose tonight is to help make this pathway clearer for you and to help you make those next steps decisions. Tonight, I'm also here with you as a parent. I'm the mother of a teenager in grade 9, so I find myself asking many of the same questions that many of you might be asking. What changes can I expect? How can I prepare my child for post-secondary? How can we both prepare for this transition together? I invite you to share any kind of questions that you're currently asking yourself, being in the same position in the chat. Professionally, I've worked at UTM for 13 years, primarily on the graduate side and more recently in the undergraduate recruitment side. I've seen this transition for students from multiple perspectives now at this point. So, as a student and as a staff member and now as a parent. This evening, we're going to explore a lot of these questions together. We're going to look at what that transition from high school looks like and how both families and students can prepare with confidence. So one of the biggest transitions that you may face when transitioning to post-secondary is the role reversal that's going to happen. Throughout elementary and secondary school, your parents were in this driver's seat. They scheduled your appointments, they paid for things, they organized things for you, they communicated, they were those key decision makers, and they were the point of contact for your school. So as you transition out of high school now and into post-secondary education, it's time for you to take on that driver's seat and your parents to move into the passenger seat. It doesn't make your parents any less important. It just changes the way that the role looks. They're still going to provide that guidance, the encouragement, and the reminders. So like a good passenger, they're going to help to ensure you've got those right directions. They're going to help you find those directions on the map. And they're going to help you, look after that standard vehicle maintenance. And what could that look like for you? That means they're going to help you maybe map your courses that you need to take. They're going to drive you to campus visits. They will help you meet the deadlines. They'll remind you to check your email regularly or help you to monitor applications. So while the parent's role will still matter, it helps you to encourage your exploration. They'll help you to ask those questions and support that thoughtful decision-making that you should be doing at this point. There's also an important legal shift that's going to happen as you transition to post-secondary. When you apply to university or college, you are the applicant. So what that means is that application test centers, financial aid offices, institutions, they can only speak directly with you about your application or your records. It's a matter of privacy law, and it makes sure that you are in charge of your own content. So this shift is an important step towards you building your independence, but also your personal accountability. And by you being here today, you're already showing ownership of that personal journey. So let's look at the various different institutions, post-secondary institutions, and what you can expect. Each level will build upon the last, where expectations, independence, and learning environments will shift significantly. In high school, your foundations built upon from your elementary and middle schools will help you to prepare for those pathways that come next. It typically is very high touch, close-knit environment with very structured guided learning where teachers, administrators, and parents are very involved. If you're struggling, you'll be sure that someone is going to notice and step in quickly. There's always consistent oversight and frequent communication. Looking at college, this change is going to shift towards a focus in career-specific skills and job training. This institution would prepare you for technical and professional roles such as pharmacy technicians, law clerks, paralegal, those sorts of types of careers. Colleges are generally larger than high schools, but smaller than universities. They encourage your independence, but many programs will still operate within that cohort model that you're used to, meaning that you'll move through the programming with the same group of peers over those coming years. It creates a structure that's built in community. While the support's still available, you are expected to take a better role in responsibility and seeking out any kind of supports. When we're looking at university, it's typically the largest and most independent learning environment out of the three that we're talking about. It focuses more on higher learning, developing that critical thinking, and analytical reasoning, research, and problem-solving skills. You will be expected to be more self-directed, and it means managing your own schedules, keeping track of deadlines, advocating for yourself, and taking initiative in completing your degree requirements. So no one's really going to be driving you around and monitoring your daily habits or homework or checking in regularly. So that independence really isn't optional. It's more essential in the university environment. So an undergraduate degree can lead you to professional programs such as engineering, medicine, or education. An undergraduate degree will build upon those transferable skills such as communication, analysis, adaptability, which can allow for that long-term flexibility and career mobility that you might be seeking. This differs from the more specialized focus of many college diplomas. So there's no single right pathway because people always ask, well, what's the right one? Which one do I choose? It depends on your own goals. It depends on your learning style and your long-term aspirations. Understanding these differences can help you make that informed and confident decision. So one of the most important skills that you can start to develop now is learning how to research these institutions. Websites, open houses, virtual sessions like you're attending tonight, program calendars, and direct communication with recruitment offices are some key tools that I encourage you to explore. I want you to look beyond program titles. Explore those course content, that experiential learning opportunities, campus culture, class sizes, support services. The more informed you are and the more informed your decision can be, the smoother the transition to post-secondary. This is really a time for you to explore. The goal in this case and at this time is preparation, not perfection. A great resource is your high school guidance counselor. Have any of you guys career cruised? Do you know what your future career options require for education? Are you taking the courses in high school that you may need to follow that educational pathway that you're interested in? Parents, this is where you can help your student do the research. You want to listen to what your child, your student wants, and you need to be prepared for them to change their mind as they grow. This is key. The purpose for today's presentation, for the purposes of today's presentation, we're going to share with you how you can map the university pathway using the University of Toronto and specifically the University of Toronto, Mississauga as a model for post-secondary education. For those that are unfamiliar, the University of Toronto is one university with three distinct campuses. As Canada's oldest and largest university, it does offer exceptional choice, including the opportunity to select the learning environment that best fits you. All three of our campuses provide the same high-quality education and access to the resources of Canada's premier university, from academic supports to student life. Regardless of campus, all graduates will earn a University of Toronto degree. So you might be asking me, Bianca, well, how do I choose which campus is right for me? The answer comes back to my previous slide, where you need to do that research. Visit the campuses, explore their communities, and really get a feel for those environments to determine which one fits you best. So let's have a look at our University of Toronto, Mississauga campus. Our campus is located here in Mississauga, Ontario, just 30 minutes west of Toronto. Our community is home to many undergraduate students across arts, business, and science. We have 26% international students at UTM, which provides that welcoming and inclusive environment with a diverse and enriching student life experience. As a UTM applicant, if you apply, you will choose between 13 different admission categories, which can lead you to over 180 different programs, which span across 18 different academic units. So what does this mean for you as a student? This means you have a wide range of options to choose from. But before we continue, let's quickly review some of those key terms that you might come across while you're doing your post-secondary research. I know some of this language can feel unfamiliar. It certainly did for me when I was doing my exploration and my journey towards post-secondary. At UTM, we have something called an admission category. This is a broad academic area you can choose from when you're applying through OUAC. It's not your final program, but instead it's your entry pathway, giving you access to specific first-year courses and setting those prerequisites for that major or specialist you declare after your first year. It also determines the degree type that you're going to earn. So what does that mean? An example would be an Honors Bachelor of Science or BCom. You may be familiar with some of those acronyms. At U of T, we also offer bachelor degrees. It's typically a 4-year direct entry program right from high school. We also have secondary entry programs, which require at least 1 year prior of university study. An example of these programs would be nursing, education, law, or architecture. So you will see some of these degrees that are listed here as honors or bachelors. Most students today will complete a 4-year honors degree. An honors program is typically more in-depth study within a specific area and may offer some research opportunities, which can be very helpful for those of you that are maybe considering a more research-focused master's or PhD programs. That said, different degrees are designed with different goals in mind. So programs such as a BCom or a BBA, for example, are often structured with some strong professional focus, preparing you for those careers in business, industry, and leadership. The key in choosing the pathway that aligns with your interests and long-term goals is whether or not you're looking to enter the workforce, pursue a professional program, continue into graduate studies. These are all unique to you and what your goals are. So one of the most common questions that I get when I'm speaking to students and parents is what do application timelines look like, and how can we prepare? And how do we get to know about what post-secondary education looks like in terms of admission requirements? So let's chat a little bit about what that can look like. You would apply to university directly from high school. Typically, this is done in September of grade 12. So you would then begin the following fall in your post-secondary studies. While some institutions do have different timelines, most will follow this fall application and fall start cycle. Using UTM as an example, students can apply to one of 13 admission categories that you can see here on the slide. Some programs, such as forensic science, communication, culture, information, and technology, and theater and drama, are unique to University of Toronto's Mississauga campus. You won't find those on the other U of T campuses. So I encourage you to explore these programs within these 13 categories early so that you can be prepared when the time comes to apply. Many programs have prerequisites from high school that you would need to satisfy. So really, this means that your course selection matters. Mapping that post-secondary education plan early helps to ensure that you're going to meet those eligibility requirements for the program or programs that you're interested in. So one of the main questions I get asked often by students when I'm speaking to them is, Bianca, which years of high school really matter? You know, I messed up grade 9 or my marks weren't as strong. Is this going to affect my university admissions? So while I like to say that all years matter because you're building those skill sets and learning who you are, the most important are your grade 11 and grade 12. These are the most critical grades when it comes time to your performance. When you apply in grade 12, your first semester grade 12 marks are typically only available when universities are making offers. So we don't have your winter term marks as yet. Because of this, universities will review your grade 11 marks, and this includes prerequisite courses. And they act as a placeholder until those grade 12 marks can be obtained in full. Early offers and as well scholarship decisions are also based on a combination of those grade 12 and 11 marks. So this is why meeting with your guidance counselor early to review those courses and post-secondary goals is so important, and to make sure that you're performing your best. As I mentioned earlier at UTM, you have a wide range of undergraduate programs that you can choose from across the arts, business, and science. What's most important to understand is that university pathways are often really flexible. You can combine majors, minors, and specialists to build a degree that really reflects your evolving interests. You can see here a sampling over the 180 programs UTM offers. You may already have a sense of an area that you might be interested in based on some courses you've done in high school, and this is the time to begin to thoughtfully map out those pathways towards those programs. So let's work on an example together. If you're interested in biology for health sciences, as an example, you would apply through the life science admission category. To choose biology for health sciences as a major after your first year, you must have completed your grade 12 biology, chemistry, and advanced functions. Calculus is recommended, not required, but it will help you to prepare for the coursework. So these prerequisites should be guiding what you choose for grade 12 course selections. When you're choosing your high school courses, make sure that you're picking those U or M level courses if you plan to go to university. These are also called academic, university, or mixed courses, which may be the terms that you're more familiar with. Applied courses are meant more for those students who are planning or mapping towards the college route. It's also important to note that some programs don't have any prerequisite courses. So for example, political science is an example of this. In this case, you would just need to meet the general admission requirements for UTM. But sometimes students will say, well, Bianca, what if I realize I'm missing some prerequisites for a program after mapping out my courses? Or I've changed my mind last minute, how am I going to get these prerequisites for this program that I'm interested by the end of high school? The good news is you do have options and choices. You can complete these prerequisites through any ministry-approved institution. So in Ontario, that means you can go through the online learning platforms such as the ILC, or you can do summer school or night school. These programs that are offered by school boards or other approved institutions will be accepted. So the key here is to explore those options, complete your courses on time, and plan as early as you possibly can. As you're exploring those program offerings, you might wonder, so what's the difference between biology and biology for health sciences? Or what can I do with a mathematical science degree? Or how could that be different from an applied statistics? You're not alone. These are very common questions. And to be honest, sometimes I ask these questions myself still to this day. So UTM's Career Center is one of the top 5 in Canada, and they've created something very unique. And in my opinion, super cool for students because they didn't have this back when I was going through my journey. Something called program plans. So these offer a quick, accessible overview of every specialist and major program we have, highlighting the academic and co-curricular opportunities in each area of study. So if you scan the QR code on the slide, this will bring you to the website, so you can have a quick peek at those as well. Program plans provide that snapshot of your 4-year degree. It shows you how to make the most of your experience inside and outside of the classroom. They help you to explore those career paths. They help you to prepare for your future. And I encourage you to review these to ensure that you've chosen the right area of study for your goals. The really neat thing is that you can even dive deeper and to explore the course syllabi and courses that are within these programs. The program plans will actually also suggest any kind of student groups that you can join, working experience opportunities, both paid and unpaid, and this can really help to enhance your overall student experience. What's really important to remember, and what I hope you do take away from tonight's session, is that a student doesn't follow a perfectly linear pathway for post-secondary. You might start in one program and then discover a new interest. You might combine different disciplines or pivot towards a different goal. Post-secondary education isn't about having everything figured out at 17. I know I sure didn't. It's about growth, exploration, and informed decision-making. You might start at college and later realize a degree is needed for the career that you're desiring. Or you might say, you know what, I need a structured gap year. or begin university in one program and then take an elective and realize you really have a passion in another area. So changing these paths as you grow is completely normal, and you're going to hear more about this from our student Philandra, who's presenting next. Mapping your pathway, as I mentioned, doesn't really stop once you just determine that post-secondary route. While academics, yes, are priority number one, so much of that growth and development that will happen stems from that engagement that you're going to pursue outside of your classes. At UTM, students can make the most of their experience by knowing those resources, seizing those opportunities on campus, and getting involved to help enrich that post-secondary experience. Research has shown that graduates who do get involved on campus are more likely to find success sooner after graduation. U of T has over 1,000 clubs across the campuses, internships and co-op opportunities, and resources such as academic advising that students can take advantage of. You will have a chance to learn more about this from our third presenter, April. So part of that full experience is that opportunity to move out of home and live on campus. I know for myself, this was one of the things I was most excited about, was gaining that independence and living on my own. At UTM, we offer the most diverse range of housing options with more than 1,500 single and double spaces in traditional room styles, apartments, and townhouses. Living on residence is optional. However, there are a lot of advantages to living on campus. So post-secondary is going to be a change no matter what. It's a big change. And by living on campus, you'll have that access to additional student supports, leadership, and development opportunities. Again, we've also found that students have an increased CGPA while living on campus. You get that opportunity for that supported transition into university life where you can grow and experience independence within a community. I know for me as well that having that classroom within a 5-minute walk from my dorm was a great opportunity for me to get to class on time, or even to get to class on some days. So now I wanted to briefly look at budgeting. This is always a concern for families, no matter what route you choose for post-secondary education. If you're Canadian, you would have the opportunity to have government financial supports. This goes across any province. In Ontario, it's OSAP. You also have access to student loans, and unique to University of Toronto, something called UTAPs, which is a funding that will fill or bridge any gap left off from OSAP. Specifically, UTM also has entrance scholarships and awards. You would be automatically considered for these when you apply. These are merit-based, and therefore another reason to ensure that you're performing your very best in your final years of high school. You can also explore other financial supports through our financial aid office to take advantage of those other need-based supports that are available. Additionally, you can take part in any kind of co-op internships, on-campus working opportunities, and this will allow you to earn money while studying. This is just a very high-level review of the financial supports that could be available to you for your post-secondary studies. I know funding was a concern for me, so I really wanted to make sure that we touched on this tonight. We'll share a link to the financial information after my presentation in the chat, so you can explore in more depth at your own pace. So we've discussed some of the main ways that you and your parents or caregivers can facilitate that mapping towards your next steps for post-secondary education. But an additional way is in attending an event like you're doing tonight. It's also one of the best ways for you to get to know U of T Mississauga or any other university or college you're interested in. We encourage you to visit the campus in person, and this goes for any institution that you would be considering, as you want to get a feel for that campus and whether or not it's the right fit for you. If you're looking to come and visit UTM in person, we would love for you to join us on our March open house, which is happening on March 29th. And if that's too soon, we'd love to connect with you at our Fall Campus Day, which will happen on October 18th. We also have tours that happen regularly on campus that you can register for. Again, the link for this will be posted in the chat. So this brings us to the end of my portion of the presentation tonight. So speaking as someone who went through this post-secondary challenge without much support, and now as a parent, I know how important this guidance can be. I really hope that tonight I was able to give you a general understanding of post-secondary options and help to clarify that university pathway for you. If you'd like to connect afterwards, you can scan the QR code on the screen for my direct contact information. I'm always happy to keep the conversation going and support you through this journey. Our student recruitment and admissions team is also available year-round to answer any questions and guide you. Up next, we're going to be hearing from our student Philandra about her experience, but first we're going to take a 2-minute break. Feel free at this time to drop any questions in the chat, and Anita and Jess Karen will be happy to answer them. We'll see you back here in about 2 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philandra, and I'm a current student here at the University of Toronto, Mississauga. Tonight, I will share my journey to and experiences throughout university to help illustrate some of the points Bianca has presented. I hope to provide valuable insights for both the students and families present here tonight. Here is a brief overview of my 5-year journey, as I will explore some of the defining moments that have shaped who I am today through the lens of education. Before we explore the timeline further, I'd like to share a few fun facts about myself. Firstly, I truly enjoy watching documentaries on a wide range of topics, but my favorite ones are travel documentaries, particularly those that focus on learning about different cultures. I often find myself living vicariously through the host, as a dream of mine is to one day travel the world, someday, and explore various cultures and practices. Secondly, I would say that I'm on my own personal journey of self-improvement, and I hope to become more consistent with taking care of my physical health. And for me, this means being mindful of what I eat. So if you have any suggestions for any healthy meal prep ideas, please share them in the chat. Now that you know a bit about me, let's take a trip back in time. I graduated from high school in Ontario in 2021, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, a time when education had to rapidly adapt. Despite the uncertainty, I stayed focused on my long-standing goal of attending university, a goal I had set in place since grade 9. While many viewed the early years of high school as less important, I consistently prioritized academics, influenced by a social narrative that framed university as the golden ticket. I chose primarily academic courses to position myself for that path. As I approached grade 12, I began reflecting more seriously on my future. My interest in both my coursework and my conversations outside the classroom pointed me toward becoming a therapist. I've always been curious about human behavior, often helping my friends work through challenges and exploring different perspectives on complex issues. In grade 11, my Introduction to Anthropology, Psychology, and Sociology course deepened this interest, particularly learning about Piaget's cognitive development theory, concepts such as conformity, as well as theories in abnormal psychology. At the same time, grade 12 biology sparked a passion for genetics. I was fascinated by processes such as DNA replication, transcription, and translation, and a TED Talk on the effects of stress on telomeres helped me to identify a compelling link between biology and psychology by connecting the concepts of behavior and genetics. In fall of 2020, I applied to 5 universities. The following universities were Wilfrid Laurier, Waterloo, York University, Queen's University, and of course, U of T, Mississauga. Of the 5, 4 of these programs were psychology, with the exception of Waterloo, where I applied for life science as a co-op student. My decision on where to apply at the time was based on 4 main factors. Firstly, whether it was a 4-year program. Then second, whether it was an honors Bachelor of Science, because I wanted an education that was focused on gaining research-based information. Thirdly, having a strong reputation to maximize opportunities during the degree and after graduation. And lastly, having a clear pathway towards graduate studies to support my goal of becoming a therapist. I submitted my applications during the early acceptance period in the fall of 2020. By the end of February, if I recall correctly, I had received acceptance letters from all 5 programs I applied to. Now I needed to refine my criteria further to make the important decision about where I would study. If you guessed the University of Toronto, Mississauga, you're correct. I chose UTM because it was closer to home, and for me, that was just more cost effective. I later discovered that the school offered an express bus service that cut 30 to 40 minutes from what would have been a 2-hour daily commute. It also satisfied the original elements of my selection criteria, as the psychology program at U of T was ranked number 1 in the country and was also offered as a Bachelor of Science, satisfying my preference for a research-based education in psychology. After accepting my offer to UTM, I received an email about Eagle Connect, a first-year transition program offered by the Center of Student Engagement at the Mississauga campus. Since my first year took place during the pandemic, I saw it as an opportunity to prepare for university and connect with other incoming psychology students. Through Zoom sessions led by an upper year student, we participated in breakout room activities, and learned how to navigate course selection and program requirements. The most valuable part was being introduced to key online resources that helped me stay on track throughout my degree. Tonight, I'll share 3 of those resources and how they supported me during the process of course selection in my first year. The first tool introduced to me was the Timetable Builder. This tool is essential for students when previewing our schedules before officially enrolling in courses for the academic year. It allowed me to create different versions of my schedule, adjusting start times for my labs as well as my lectures, and also allowed me to see or identify if there were any scheduling conflicts. Another key resource was the Degree Explorer. It allowed me to map out potential programs, build 4-year plans, and track my academic progress. With progress bars and requirement checklists, I could clearly see which courses I had completed and which were outstanding, helping me stay organized and on track. The final key resource was the academic calendar. It provided a comprehensive overview of all courses and detailed program requirements, helping me understand exactly what I needed for my degree. It was essential for exploring program options and planning my studies accurately. With these tools, I felt ready to select my courses. For psychology, I was required to take Psych 100, a full year course running from September to April. I also enrolled in introductory biology, chemistry, and calculus to keep the option of pursuing a biology program open. So as you can see here on screen, looking back at my schedule from 2021 fall and 2022 winter, you can see that all my fall term courses were in fact fully online. And that by the winter semester, we had shifted back to the in-person model. At first glance, this schedule did in fact feel overwhelming. But the winter proved especially difficult when I had to balance my studies with the exhaustion that came from commuting. During this time, I sought support from various resources recommended by my course instructors. I utilized the services available by the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center, which included facilitated study groups. These sessions are usually tailored for some of the university's popularly challenging courses. I attended these sessions for my biology courses to help prepare for my first midterms. I also took a philosophy elective during the fall semester and faced the task of writing my first major writing assignment. For this, I booked a writing appointment with the department. Here, I was able to submit a draft of what I had already, and I was able to receive constructive feedback that helped me to perfect the final product of my essay. By March of my first year, it was time for me to select my program. At this point, I made one of the first significant decisions in my academic journey. I initially accepted a place in the psychology program, but I also completed courses that qualified me for admission to biology. Through my research, I discovered that the university offered a specialist program in molecular biology, which aligned with the content I enjoyed in high school. I decided to apply for this program instead, and by the summer of 2022, I received an acceptance letter via my school email. In fall 2022, I began my second year fully in person and was determined to have a better academic year. By winter 2023, however, I felt disconnected in the classroom and started looking for ways to get involved. Through Better Impact, I volunteered as a student ambassador, helping prepare for the 2023 March open house. During this time, I learned about a work study role from Tara, followed up by email, applied, and secured the position starting in summer 2023. From summer 2023 to April 2024, I worked as a student ambassador at the Office of Student Recruitment and Admissions, gaining insight into the process of admissions, as well as just how diverse the background of our applicants were. I also led campus tours, created tour videos for YouTube, and represented the university at events such as the Ontario University's Fair. This all helped to deepen my understanding of the campus resources that were available to students such as myself. While working in the office that summer, I enrolled in 2 summer courses. From May to June, I completed Bio 202, which was Introduction to Animal Physiology, which was one of my program prerequisites. I also completed from July to August Pol 111, which is Canada in the Comparative Perspective, which was used to satisfy my social science distribution requirement. Although the pace was faster than during the regular term, I enjoyed focusing on one course at a time and appreciated the quieter, more relaxed campus atmosphere in the summer. In total, I earned 1.0 credits that summer, which allowed me to take 4 courses per term in third year. During third year, I enrolled in more advanced molecular biology courses, which included labs, while volunteering at the same time as a facilitated study group leader with the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center. Having attended these sessions in first year, I value the opportunity to now support other students. In this role, I collaborated with 2 other students to plan and lead weekly study sessions, strengthening my teamwork skills and contributing to a program focused on student success. Third year marked a turning point in my university journey as I began to experience burnout. While my first and second year courses were general, upper year courses became increasingly specialized, which was challenging as I struggled to feel connected to my academic experience. By the winter of 2024, I knew I needed change. As I approached the end of my degree, I realized I wasn't enjoying my studies, which was an unsettling realization for someone like me who has always enjoyed learning. I decided to seek support and reached out to an academic advisor through the Office of the Registrar. I did this by submitting a ticket via the Ask Registrar service. After my ticket was reviewed, I met with an academic advisor in person to discuss my courses and uncertainty about continuing on my current path. She was understanding and encouraging, which was especially meaningful during a difficult time. She recommended two main resources, the first being the Robert Gillespie Academic Skills Center to support my study habits and time management skills, and a career counselor to help me explore how my interests align with potential paths and programs of studies. I ended up visiting the Career Center and scheduled an appointment with a career counselor. During our first meeting, I shared that I was in my third year but not enjoying my program. She led a personality-based activity that connected my traits to possible careers. In a follow-up appointment, we discussed career options and graduate studies related to education, as teaching had become an interest of mine. I was also assigned a career aptitude test and given access to the Career Center's Know Yourself course to further clarify my goals. After using these resources, I decided to drop 2 courses by the end of my third year. I had planned to complete 14.5 out of the 20.0 credits required to graduate by 2025, but dropping the courses reduced my total to 13.0 credits. This forced an important decision. Was I going to overload my schedule in order to graduate on time, or was I going to slow down and take some time to reassess my path? I chose to slow down, accepting a delayed graduation to prioritize my well-being. So ultimately, my decision to change my program was based on 3 main factors. Firstly, I felt that I preferred biology, but within molecular biology, it had an inevitable overlap with chemistry, but it was a bit more chemistry than I had initially bargained for. Secondly, I felt I struggled to envision a satisfying career within the field. At the time, I kept saying I wanted to be a genetic counselor, but I was really having difficulty envisioning myself in this career pathway in the long term, and also feeling that I would have been happy in this career. And lastly, I was uncertain about my post-graduation options, as I felt I wasn't performing strong enough in key courses to access meaningful opportunities after graduating. To reevaluate my path, I transitioned from full-time to part-time studies. What was intended to be my final year became a period of recovery. I took the summer off to rest, then enrolled in a biology seminar course in the fall of 2024, where I performed well. In the winter, I completed 2 educational studies courses that I really enjoyed. Alongside my studies, I focused on gaining more work experience by working retail and tutoring school-age children to prepare for a potential career in teaching. During the summer, I also wanted to get back into getting more involved on campus. This led me to apply for additional work study positions, and I earned the opportunity to work with the Office of the Registrar as a peer leader for summer 2025. This was a really cool experience, as it allowed me to assist new students in navigating their journey here at the university. I participated in co-hosting Zoom sessions such as Ask the Student 101, where we answered questions about courses and programs available at the university. We also supported students during the first year course enrollment day, and I had the opportunity to be featured in the 2025 New Student Enrollment Workbook. During the summer, I returned to psychology, the original reason I chose this campus, motivated by my lived experience as a student and a growing awareness of the importance of mental health support and counseling during emerging adulthood. My experience with burnout, combined with the support I received, sparked an interest in counseling within education, making psychology a natural addition to my studies. I enrolled in 2 introductory courses, one being Introduction to Neuroscience and Cognition, the Machinery of the Mind. The asynchronous format allowed me to watch lectures at my own pace, which was especially helpful while balancing coursework with working during the summer. I completed both courses and applied for the psychology major in August. Receiving acceptance, my final program combination now includes double majors in psychology and biology with a minor in education studies. I returned to being a full-time student in fall of 2025. I took 3 courses focused on balancing academics, work, and personal life. My improved grades reflected this effort, and I felt truly in control of my university journey. That sentiment is still true now, as I am currently taking 4 courses this semester. That fall, I also returned to the Student Recruitment and Admissions Office as a senior student ambassador. This felt like a full circle moment. When I first worked in this office, I felt disconnected from my academic experience, but upon returning, I felt genuinely connected to my studies. In this role, I helped to plan tours for Fall Campus Day, presented during the Discover Days web series, and co-created a student staff mentorship program to foster community and professional growth. We organized dropping paint sessions and created a board highlighting our current student staff, making the experience both engaging and meaningful. As my journey feels like it is only just beginning, I look forward to furthering my education at the University of Toronto's Ontario Institute for Studies in Education as a master's student. I've been exploring different program options in both the Department of Curriculum, Teaching, and Learning, as well as the Department of Applied Psychology and Human Development. After this semester, I'll have one more year left to complete my psychology major. I look forward to my final year with pride, as I have learned to transform setbacks into invaluable opportunities for growth. This journey has taught me that change, though often challenging, can lead to profound personal development and fulfillment. And as you move forward in your own journeys, embrace change as a powerful catalyst for growth. Be patient with yourselves during the ups and downs, and remember that each challenge can inspire resilience. I want to wrap things up by saying thank you all for listening. We will return after a short 3-minute break. Stay tuned after the video for more information on what our Career Center has to offer, presented by April Forbes.
When I was accepted into U of T, I was immediately like, yes, this is it. This is my moment, and we're doing this. Honestly, I could have gone anywhere in the country if I wanted to. I had a few offers for other places, but it was important to me that I came to the hub of Canada, really.
Growing up, my parents always told me to just aim for the highest possible. And when I Googled schools, this was just the highest rated school in the country.
It has such a reputation and such an intensity when you hear the name U of T.
U of T was my top choice kind of from the get-go, both getting a terrific academic experience, but also being in a city that I would really come to love and enjoy.
One of the great things about U of T is that there are 3 campuses, and you can choose between them, but in the end, you're going to end up with the same great education. You're at a university where the same professors that wrote the textbooks are the same ones in the front of the class teaching you, and that's not something you have at a whole lot of universities.
I just always wanted to be a doctor. It wasn't much of a question, but I didn't realize how many different courses or programs that existed.
You're going to find something here at U of T that you want to study. For me, that was a bit of biotechnology and a bit of immunology.
Environmental studies and English.
A major in chemistry, a major in peace, conflict, and justice studies, a minor in environmental chemistry, and a French language citation.
Every time I walk into an architecture classroom, I get tingles going up my spine because it's so exciting and it's what I want to be studying and it's challenging and it pushes me.
First year university can be a challenging time for anyone, regardless of which university you go to. Here at U of T, there's all kinds of supports.
Being from Saskatchewan, the one program really gave me an opportunity to have that smaller community feeling that I desired.
The ONES programs are very unique to U of T just because they're very small, maybe 15 to 30 students, and you have these professors who are very experienced in their field with all this one-on-one time with the students.
For me, it was clubs, it was intramural sports, it was study groups, and quickly the community that you make becomes quite small and you can find a place to call home here.
There's so many student clubs available on campus. You could go club to club every day for your entire undergrad and you'd never run out.
We have like a club here called Black Doctors of Tomorrow, and it's just increased the number of students that want to go to med school.
Coming from Banff, where there's a lot of physical activities, I wasn't sure what I would find in Toronto, and I was pleasantly surprised. I can run, bike, rock climb. You can join the dragon boat team if you want to.
Somebody had mentioned something about bees, and I didn't know that we have like a beekeeping club. I hadn't seen it advertised, but I was like, I didn't know we have this. That's so cool.
It's so important to step outside your comfort zone, push those boundaries, and see how you can grow in a new space. U of T is actually a lot of communities inside one big community, and that's the magic of it.
Okay, good evening, everyone. And yes, thank you for joining us tonight. My name is April Forbes, and I am the Career Outreach Consultant at the UTM Career Center. I have worked at UTM for over 18 years, and I have really found my home here and within the Career Center. I am what I like to call a career nerd. And what I mean by that is I really, truly love listening to students talk about their passion. I love to hear what lights them up. I love to hear what gets them excited, their ideas for themselves, for their future, for their careers. I also like listening to their worries and to the challenges that they're facing and trying to work with them together so that they can try and figure out what their next best move is for themselves. Okay, so what does the Career Center do? The Career Center is here for you every step of your journey at UTM and beyond. We offer award winning supports and services during your undergrad, as well as up to 2 years after graduation. That means even when you've completed your degree, you can still come to us for workshops, events, and services. Our mission is to engage and educate every UTM student and recent graduate in the lifelong process of developing career management skills and building resilience to accomplish their career goals. I want to highlight the words lifelong because careers are not built overnight, and you often start in a very different place than you end up. We want students to learn career management tools for now and for in their future. For parents and supporters here in this call, we kind of know this, right? Where you start isn't always where you end up. It's very rare nowadays to stay in a career for 40 years. When we talk with parents at our open houses, we always like to ask them this question, and we actually have like a sticky board where we put all the answers. And I'll actually ask you here now in the chat because I'm always curious. So if Anita, if you can put this in the chat, but parents and supporters, what did you want to do when you were 18, and what do you do now? And I'm just curious to kind of see what the answers come up. For me, I started off working in social work. Working in higher education had never even entered my mind until a social work job brought me to UTM. Another plot twist in my career path came in 2024, a couple years ago, when my dog Dino joined our Career Center staff as a therapy dog. And I'll talk a bit more about him in a minute. But anyone who knows me knows that I am a diehard cat person. And so I never would have thought that I would end up working in post secondary and with a dog. But life is really funny and it takes you in different directions sometimes. The Career Center is here to help you figure out what your next best move is. Our goal is to create a career ecosystem on campus. And what I mean by that is that careers are really interwoven throughout your undergrad. So we work in partnership with every single academic department on campus to host in-class workshops, alumni events, and provide resources. We work in partnership so that your academics and your career goals can inform one another throughout your time at UTM. What sets us apart? The one-on-one support that you get from our team. You can book in-person or virtual appointments that work with your schedule and get personalized advice and someone in your corner to help you navigate. We have a career counselor and employment strategist who are also tied to the International Education Center to support our international students. And we are the only career center that has their very own therapy dog on staff. Dino has been working with our office. Actually, he's snoozing behind me right now. Actually, as we speak, he was working today. But Dino has been working with our office to help ease students into career conversations. He's on campus a couple times per week. He hosts drop-ins and one-on-one appointments because talking about a career can be really hard. But Dino tries to make it a little bit easier and a little more cuddly as well. His Instagram is there as under the picture of him and I on the screen if you'd like to learn a bit more about him and his journey or follow along as well. So I want to know what your end goal is. Do any of these companies look appealing to you? Maybe some places you'd like to work one day, right? We've got Big Four on there. We've got the banks. We've got Trillium Health Partners. So this picture represents all the companies that the Career Center has worked with and brought to campus in the last year. In fact, 75 of the top Fortune 500 companies have their Canadian headquarters right here in Mississauga, making UTM a very logical choice to generate a talent pipeline with. I'll get into all the different ways we bring them to campus in the following slides, but I'd like to pause here because I want you to think about what your end goal is. Whatever your dream is, whether it's a company on this list or it's somewhere else, we can help you build the skills to get there. At the end of your degree at U of T, you are going to have a very impressive education line on your resume. U of T is going to open doors for you. It's going to bring these employers to you, but I want you to think about what else you have on your resume as well. Your experiences, like volunteering, research, part-time work, clubs, certifications, awards. These are going to be what set you apart and makes you stand out to employers like these. By thinking about your end goal, you can use your undergrad to work backwards and start gathering the skills and experiences that will complement your degree and ultimately get you where you want to go. So these are the three key messages that we give to students that underpin all that we do. The first one being career clarity. So it's not just knowing what job you want, but why you want it. The second one is to start early. Don't wait until you need a job to start thinking about what you want to do. The sooner you can start thinking about this, the better. And the third is learn by doing. You'll learn a lot about yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what you value, what you're good at by trying different opportunities. So career clarity is our first key message to students, and it's the idea of not just knowing what job you want, but knowing why you want it. Sometimes a career can sound appealing, but when you really learn more about what it involves and the day-to-day, the work-life balance, the education required, you might change your mind, and that's okay. Or you might learn about a career and find out it confirms it is what you want to do, and that's okay too, and you want to pursue it. Career clarity starts by getting to know yourself. What do you value? What are your skills? What are your interests and your personality? For example, I know I'm an extroverted people person. I know I wouldn't do well working behind a screen all day or in a lab. A lot of people might like that, but I know it's not for me. Career clarity is knowing where you want to go and how you're going to get there. It's an understanding of what skills you have and what skills or experiences you still need to get to reach your goal. For anyone who's been to an eye exam before, as you can see, I wear glasses. You may know what a phoropter is. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, it's the machine that when you go to the eye doctor, they put the machine in front of your face and they ask you to look through the little lenses. And then the eye doctor will flip them back and forth and they'll say, which one's better, number one or number two? You say number two, and then they'll say, okay, number two or number three. And each time it flips, you're refining your vision and things are getting a little clearer. Career clarity is kind of like that. Each time you try something new, so you take a course, you volunteer, you talk to somebody about, your career ideas, you're refining that vision for yourself and creating a clearer picture. That's how we want to see your career goal. We want you to see your career goal nice and clear. Our second key message to students is to start early. This is a path we see often. Students start at UTM, they put their heads down, they work hard for their first 2 years, and then suddenly they're facing third year, fourth year with these looming internships and research opportunity programs and part-time work, grad school applications, and they don't know where to start. Suddenly, it all feels very overwhelming, and you're feeling rushed to make choices about your future that you're not quite confident in. If you start early and do a little bit of career development each year, you'll take the pressure off yourself during the last few years and you'll feel more confident in your next steps. I do a lot of tabling in my job. So I met a student last month while I was tabling and they were telling me that they're graduating in June. So when I normally hear this, I get kind of excited and I go, "Oh my gosh, you must be so excited. What are your plans for graduation?" And the student stared at me and they said they have absolutely no idea what they're going to do with their life. So when I heard this, I probed more. Tell me a bit more about that. And as I probed, they told me they have no experience. They've never worked. They've never volunteered anywhere. They've never joined any clubs. They did well in their program, but they have no interest in the subject matter or pursuing it as a career. So, at a time when they're supposed to be excited about next steps, they are now having to start the process of self discovery and figuring out exactly what they like. This is not the story I want for you. You can even start now. Grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, try things. Have conversations with adults in your life. The more you learn about yourself and your interests early, the easier it will be to make life choices down the road. So these are some common questions we hear a lot from students. What program should I take? What kinds of jobs can I get? Should I go to graduate school? It's normal not to know exactly what you want to do. Figuring out your career path is like putting together the pieces of a puzzle. Our career development model is a framework that guides our services and focuses on 6 key areas of development: assess yourself, gain experience, explore skills, explore careers, express skills, pursue learning, and reflect and decide. It was designed in an interconnected way to show students that you can start anywhere. Everyone is at a different place, and what's important to someone else might not be what's important to you. So you decide on what you need to work on. You can move in and out of the different areas, but not without passing back through the middle, which is to reflect on what you've done and decide what you want to do next. So, breaking down our career development model into each section, I'm going to highlight some of the supports and services that we offer. Assess yourself is the process of learning who you are and what you like. The better you know yourself, the easier it will be to plan your programs, your courses, and your extracurriculars. Career counseling is a great place to start having these guided conversations in a safe and supportive place. For our 2S LGBTQIA plus students, we offer a program called 3P, Proud, Powerful, and Professional, to explore how one's identity intersects with their work. We also offer expressive arts therapy, where students explore their sense of self and how it relates to their career through various art mediums. And lastly, we have Pause and Unwind, which I'm kind of biased, but I love. So, Pause and Unwind has been very popular, especially with first year students, to engage them in career conversations while enjoying Dino's company. The goal is to create a safe space where students feel comfortable to ask career questions and explore ideas when they feel ready. How can I gain experience during my time on campus? Is a question we hear every single day. And it's a great one to be asking. Experiences are how you're going to know what you like and what you don't like, and what you're good at and what you need to improve on. Our employment strategists are here for you every step of the way with one-to-one appointments to help you find and secure the experiences you want. Our annual Get Hired Fair brings over 80 employers to campus who are looking to hire UTM students for various part time and full time roles, as well as internship and volunteer. This year, we launched our Skills Accelerator program, which is shown in the middle photo there. Uh, this is a 3-hour boot camp hosted by an employer on campus, and teaches students how to solve real world business challenges. Students have an opportunity to present their ideas, receive real time feedback, and network with industry leaders. The co-curricular record, or the CCR as you might hear it called, is an official university document that tracks your extracurricular activities and highlights the skills you're building within each opportunity. Work Counts is a program that gives you CCR credit for your work outside of the campus. Another popular way to gain experience is through the work study program. Work study is essentially part-time paid work on campus. At U of T, we have 2 different streams that students can apply for. The first one is called the Work Experience Stream, which is focused on developing general professional skills and supporting departmental tasks. The second stream is the Research Experience Stream, which is focused on faculty led research projects and is ideal for academic and analytical skill building. And both of these are also CCR recognized. So, how do you even know what's out there? What do certain job titles even mean? What would it be like to work in a certain industry? This is where exploring careers comes in and is a very important part of the development journey. This is where you dig in and do your homework. We bring employers to campus for information sessions, so you get a chance to learn about their company, ask questions, and network with their hiring managers. We have a program called In the Field, which is basically like a field trip for university students. We travel to a company and tour their facility. You get to speak with their employees, get a sense of their work. This semester alone, we have visited Google, Microsoft, the city of Mississauga, and this week, actually, we're headed to Trillium Health Partners. I think in the photo there, that's when we went to CAMH. So the more people you speak with about careers, the more informed you will be, which is what led us to actually create the Career Talks program. So you can book one-on-one virtual or in-person meetings with UTM students and alumni who offer personal advice on all things UTM, jobs, career, and more. We know one of the hardest pieces of the career puzzle is organizing and expressing the skills you have to employers. So we offer workshops and drop-ins throughout the semester to help you craft your resume and cover letter, create a LinkedIn profile that stands out, and practice for interviews, as well as learn to network. We now offer a program called CC100, which is a career and work readiness program that walks you through the career development model from self-discovery to interviews in a 12-week cohort guided by our staff. This program offers a unique culminating event called a reverse career fair, which is actually the picture in the middle. That's from our last iteration, in which students are actually the ones who table and employers are brought in to walk around and learn about who these students are and what they have to offer. We also offer a 3-day conference called Sweats to Suits. We host for graduating students to help launch them into their careers by providing panels and workshops on various career topics. So we believe in lifelong learning. And for some students, that means more education after their undergrad. Whatever they're looking to pursue, we support them to research, discover, and figure out what path makes the most sense for them. We host an annual graduate and professional schools fair that brings over 50 institutions to campus to showcase their graduate programs. There's no better time to assess options than speaking directly with admissions officers to see which program is the right fit for you. As I mentioned before, working on your career is kind of like a large puzzle. And as you work on each piece, we want you to get into the practice of reflecting and deciding. You can even start this habit now. What did you learn from that experience, and what will you do next? For example, maybe you thought you would go into corporate law, but after attending a panel and hearing someone speak about their career in environmental law, you start to investigate that path for yourself. Maybe your next move is to meet one-on-one with an environmental lawyer to learn more, or to research law firms, or meet with a career counselor to discuss options. Whatever your next move is, we're here to support you as you find that career clarity. You're already doing this work by attending this session here tonight. You have a big decision ahead of you. You have to choose where you want to go to school and what you want to study, and there is no easy answer. But by attending sessions like this, you're gathering important information so you can make the best informed choice for yourself. So after tonight, take some time, reflect on what you've heard, talk to others in your life about where they went to school, and decide on your next step. If you like what you heard tonight, maybe your next step is to visit campus and see if it feels like a good fit for you. I wanted to share some resources with you. Bianca spoke about the program plans, but I highly recommend you look through them to get a sense of the programs and various careers they could lead to. One question we hear a lot is, what can I do with my program? And this applies to any program at U of T. We hear this all the time. What can I do with anthropology? What can I do with English? What can I do with economics? So our careers by major database identifies potential career fields and job titles related to your academic program. It's kind of like a starting point to give you some ideas and directions you could go. Five on the Go is a podcast we started that interviews alumni and employers getting their point of view on all kinds of career topics from imposter syndrome to interviews. So if you have a few minutes, please feel free to listen. I believe Anita is going to pop a long list of resources that I spoke about tonight into the chat. Feel free to look through them on your own time. But I believe that is all from me. So like I said, thank you so much for joining tonight. You're already starting a great step in your journey by being here, getting this information. I love to talk about careers. If you want to email me questions, I'm always happy to try and answer. Please feel free, thoughts, concerns, questions. And if you'd like to get to know a little bit more of our team, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen. Dino even has a profile on there, so you can get to know a little bit more about him as well. Okay, and that's all for me. I think we're going to pass it back to Tara.
Thank you so much, April, and thank you, Flandra, and thank you, Bianca, for all of the time that you've spent going over what navigating your education could look like, and then what's next. So this is the time where I'm going to now pivot, and we're going to start going to the Q&A. So this is a time to start throwing in questions to us. We'll try to answer as many that we can live, and I have a few of them. I'm going to throw it out to all four of us here. I'm actually going to go to you first, Flandra, if that's okay. So one of the very first questions is, what assumptions do high achieving students tend to carry into university that actually hold them back? So if you have any kind of reflection part of that, I'll send that to you first.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I feel like, speaking from my own experience, I would definitely identify like my attachment to perfectionism as one of my biggest barrier in my first year. And for me, how that manifested as a barrier was basically just getting too caught up in like getting that perfect grade on every assignment, like every test. I feel like I was so invested in getting that grade that I kind of lost touch of like why I was here. And so oftentimes when you fixate too much on getting that perfect grade, it also works to discourage you from like wanting to do the coursework because it feels almost impossible to get to that target grade. I would say just trying to reshape your ideology of what like a good performance looks like. Is it always going to be about grade? If it's always going to be about grades, then like it is a risk that you might lose sight of what you need to focus on in that initial time in your first year. And then secondly, I would also say just subscribing to this idea that everything can be solved by just pushing through, not seeking help. Just keep working harder and everything will get better. I fell into that trap myself. Like I kept doing that first year, second year, all the way to the third year. And from my story, you can see how that resulted. So I would definitely say, like, if you start university and you felt like you were strong in high school, but you take a couple courses here at university and it's not going as well as you anticipated, try to seek help as soon as possible rather than trying to fix all the problems yourself, because those resources are there for us, for students to reach out to. And I kind of wish, looking back, instead of just keep on working harder, things will get better, I actually started reaching out to those resources earlier on.
And I have a follow-up question as well to that. Yeah. So if you could restart your first year at U of T, knowing what you know now, what would you do intentionally different if you could?
This is also a great question. I would say for me, we saw what my first year schedule was looking like. If I could go back, I would actually opt for a lighter course load because I feel that I wasn't really well informed on what the process of university is. And I feel like it's something that you actually just have to experience. No matter how many stories you hear, you kind of have to go into that experience and learn more about it for yourself. I wish I started with perhaps maybe 4 or 3 courses. And I also wish that even though I had 5 courses, I was more aware of course like deadlines for dropping your courses. So there are basically deadlines in which students can actually drop courses and still get refunds. I wish I took advantage of that when I saw that I was struggling in certain courses and kind of put it to say, maybe if I wasn't doing well in this course in the fall and I dropped it, maybe it's something I can pursue in, say, the summer session, or maybe just move it over to the other semester. So probably just starting off with more of a lighter course load to kind of ease my way into what university is about. And if I was successful, increase. If not, kind of just stay at that stability of 3 to 4 courses in my first year.
Thank you. Another question that came in that said, do different campuses have different expectations? I'm happy to answer that. My take on that is it's similar quality of education at all 3 campuses. It's just having access to similar areas. Knowing that U of T has expanded over the years, it means that there's more space for students to now come in to have a higher education. What that also means is that faculty do travel between campuses. So somebody who could be teaching at Mississauga is also teaching at Scarborough. Things that you could be doing, going to a class at St. George is also acceptable. There's a shuttle. So if you're a UTM student and you want to go to the downtown campus, by all means, figure out your schedule to make that work. You could also go to the Scarborough campus. But at the end of the day, it's just a U of T degree. It doesn't say the campus associated to it. Everybody's graduating with a high education in that sense. Does anybody else want to add to that before I go to the next question?
Can I just add just one thing that I really, and I know we touched on it here, but I really would encourage anyone, if you're thinking, do I pick Scarborough? Do I pick St. George, UTM? And I would really say visit all of them because they are very different. I'm going to say vibes. They are totally different vibes at different ones. And, you know, I personally really love UTM. I love the nature. I love the quiet, the more suburban, but I meet students all the time that are like, no, I want to go where the action is. I want to be downtown, and that UTM's too quiet for me. So, but then I meet the opposite. I meet other students who are like, nope, I like UTM. I like the quiet community feel. Same with kind of Scarborough's like that. So you really have to visit them and get a sense for yourself because everybody's so different and they all have a lot to offer. And as Tara said, there's the shuttle bus. You can transfer between both. Some people choose to do a St. George course in the summertime, or so there's lots of different options.
Thank you. The next question I'm going to ask, I'm going to pose this to Bianca. What is the difference between the early application and the normal application process?
In this regard, it's one application. I think that's the bit of the confusion that students sometimes can have. It's one application, but if you can complete for the early deadline, it just means that you've had an opportunity to get all those documents in, provide whatever it is that your requirements are for whatever program you're applying to or from wherever you're coming from. And then it also, because you'd be completed earlier than someone who, let's say, completes in January or February, it gives you an opportunity to be considered for the first round of admissions. Our first round of admissions this year went out in January, so it allows students to be considered for that first round if they are a strong and eligible student and have all those documents submitted and everything complete. In this case as well, though, again, I'm going to reiterate back to my slides that it's so important that students do well in their grade 11 year as well, because we will only have potentially your fall marks, so from your September to December, high school grades. And so in this case, we may have to fall back, or we will have to fall back on those grade 11 marks to satisfy prerequisites or curriculum requirements as well.
Thank you. Flandra, I'm going to jump back to you. Knowing that you did change your area of post within U of T, what did that look like to be able to switch the actual major for yourself? Was it grades? Was it something else? If you want to elaborate a little bit more on that.
So for me, the programs that I switched to, those were the type 2 programs. So that means for me, it was ensuring that I was taking those prerequisite courses at the university level and then also maintaining a certain CGPA. So it definitely depends on the type of program. I know for some students, if it's say type 1, for those programs, you don't have a CGPA cutoff. You just need to take certain courses and you can just apply for them. And then there's, of course, the type 3 programs, which are just a bit more competitive, where certain times students, you might meet the prerequisites that they're more so getting into those programs based on capacity. So for me, what was key in deciding if I could or couldn't switch courses was just keeping track of the resources that I mentioned in my slide, which was doing my homework on the academic calendar, because it really does give you a great breakdown of courses you need to take. And then also going back to Degree Planner, adding different course plans and seeing if I would be able to satisfy those requirements for that specific program.
Thank you, Flandra. This question is posed to both myself, April, and Bianca. I'll let either one of you go first. What did you want to do when you were 18, and what are we doing now?
I can start this one off. When I mentioned that those pathways are not always linear and you may not always end up where you think you're going to end up, that was completely my case. When I was 18, I was dead set on being a veterinarian, specializing in racehorses. I had it all figured out. But here I am today. So, you get challenged, you make your choices, and then you have to pivot. So I finished my undergraduate degree from University of Guelph. My veterinary pathway didn't pan out as I had hoped. And then I went into different career paths and along the way, and now I'm here. And I think this is where I was meant to end up, having these full circle moments with students, because my journey was complex. I didn't have, someone pointing me in that right direction. So for me to be able to come full circle, guide students in their journeys today is something that is really meaningful for me. And it makes me want to get up and go to work every morning, just knowing that I have that ability.
So great. I love this question. This is, like I said, this is why we asked this. So anybody who's going to come to March Open House on March 29th, please come and see the Career Center, because you'll see me with my lovely sticky board, and we're going to be asking this question. Because I think it highlights so perfectly that, like, you have an idea of what you want to do, but it can so easily change. And I challenge you, talk to adults in your life, talk to teachers, talk to coaches in your life, and ask them and say, what did you want to go to school for? And like, what are you doing now? Because I guarantee their path will be very similar, a squiggle line. We say, like, it's never linear, it's never straight. It's going to be a squiggle line. Like I mentioned, I wanted to go to school for social work. I was dead set. I was going to work with adults who have intellectual disabilities. And I did do that for a number of years. And I absolutely loved that work too. The job brought me to UTM, and I thought, oh, this is a great community. I really like it here. Now, it did require me to go back to school. So I was in my early 30s and was deciding to go back and do a master's degree. And I thought, I was that person when I left school. I thought, I'm never going to go back to school. But life is funny. And I wanted to be here. I wanted to work at UTM. I wanted to do this sort of work. So for me, it was worth it going back to school. But yeah, this is why I love this kind of work, because everybody has their own kind of unique story. Tara, what's yours? What did you want to be when you were 18?
I actually wanted to be an art teacher. I didn't even know higher education was even an option to even work in that industry. I came from a very small town. So if anybody knows where Mount Forest is on the map, that's where I'm from. So knowing that just getting access to a city wasn't always top of mind to either go to the city for school. For us, it was Kitchener was the closest, or going to Guelph was one of the closest cities we went to. So for me, I will say I did find it challenging to even know what it is, how I was going to navigate anything. And I remember finding out when I said I wanted to be there a teacher, typically you had to go to university for that, and then you had to go to teacher's college. As soon as I understood that path, I didn't want to do that. And then I think I found myself enjoying doing more, like, I like doing the art itself, but didn't want to teach it. So I think when I took a business class, when I was in grade, I think 11 or 12, or maybe it was both years, I remember getting really good grades in that. So I think finding ways to create projects was more of my aspiration. So I actually went to school for marketing first. I went to college first, and then I went to university. Wasn't the wrong path for me at all. But I do remember when I was learning about marketing, it was showing me things like accounting and finance and economics, and I'm not into math. So I learned very quickly what it is I actually do in job. And what I did love, it actually was more like brand management, graphic design, and then event planning. So I think in my career, I found ways to create my artistic flair through different project elements. And then finding where I am now today, I think actually kind of hones in with who I was back in high school. But it took me probably, I'm going to say 15 years of my career, jumping back and forth, trying different industries. I dabbled in communications. There was a lot going on. And a lot of my 20s was just navigating each job. What is it I actually enjoy? And then how did my experiences, both university and college, support what that looks like? Resume writing was one thing I remember was one of my biggest supports in all of this. Branding your resume, I found it was a thing. So when you're applying to a company, being able to actually brand the resume to that company you're applying to stands out. So that was very helpful, especially when there's hundreds of applicants applying for the same job. And then I will say, I think career cruising helped. I did do a lot of informational interviews. Even when I started working in higher education, I did question, is this the right field for me? And I'm still doing that today, trying to find ways to even enhance what I can bring into this audience. I genuinely, like I mentioned, this is one of my favorite events. So being able to talk to a student who's in high school, I was you. And I feel like I can now give that guidance to somebody. So whether you're on campus, you have a connection at some point, I'm more than happy to always share what that path looked like. But mine wasn't straight, I will say that. The next question I'm going to ask this to Philandra. It's probably Philandra and Bianca for both. Is it possible to take summer courses at the different campuses at U of T, and are transfer credits given from the home campus?
Okay, I'll answer the first part of that, which is yes, you are able to take summer courses at different U of T campuses. The only thing I would say for students, like whenever they speak about taking courses at different campuses, if it's to satisfy, say, a program requirement for a program at UTM specifically, I would say just double check with the actual department to see if it's feasible for you to take a program prerequisite at another campus. Otherwise, if there's no restrictions on that, you should be a-okay to kind of go to either Scarborough or St. George if your home campus is UTM and take those summer courses.
And just to build out the last part of the question, yes, it would translate onto your transcript. It would be coming back to UTM on your transcript. You're a U of T student across all 3 campuses, but your home university is UTM. So your transcript is your transcript, no matter where you're taking that course.
Okay, and then thank you. The next question I'm going to pose is, what does UTM look for for a student application? What are we looking for? Bianca, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, absolutely. It really depends on the program that you're looking, or that admission category that you're looking to apply to. In majority of the cases, it literally is just your marks. It's very academic based. If you're looking at computer science, for example, they have a supplementary application component to their application. So they have a question that you can locate online, but there may be some additional factors, and that can go for other programming as well. So, volunteer work or any kind of extracurriculars, that sort of thing can be brought into those special components. Or for example, theater and drama here at UTM, they have an addition component. So those are the 2 pieces that I would say stand out the most at UTM, but otherwise it is academic based. So looking at those marks from grade 11 and 12.
And to build on that, I have a follow-up question that is also parallel to myself and April. And anybody wants to answer this. How do I know if a career pathway for university is right for me? In high school, with university applications, what is one of your biggest recommendations to do before the application process?
I can start this, and maybe April can touch on a bit of the end of it. I think the most important thing to get a feel for what you want is, what did you enjoy doing in high school? I know at my daughter's high school, for example, they've got a lot of, applied opportunities where they're doing landscaping, auto, all of these different opportunities to experience different life skills and interests. So find your passions, figure out what you enjoy doing. And then secondary to that, like we mentioned in our presentations, is just visit the campuses, visit the different environments that you can be studying within, because that will impact your decision greatly.
Yeah, I would reiterate exactly what Bianca said, that I often ask this to students, because I will meet students all the time. What do you want to do? And they're very focused on, well, I'm doing this program. I'm like, cool. What do you want to do with that? So one of the kind of probing questions I'll ask is like, what lights you up? Like, what gets you really excited? And sometimes I'll ask it in a way of like, tell me some things that are on your resume. And as soon as the student tells me something, I can almost see their body language. Like they stand up taller, or they're smiling more as they're telling me about this camp job that they did with these little kids. And it's those moments where I'm like, do you notice you got excited when you talked about kids and teaching? Like, tell me more about that. So if it's really like that reflection piece that I talked about in my slide deck, like really reflecting on like, what are the things you've done so far? And what did you really enjoy? Because ultimately, you have to enjoy what you're going to do. If you're gonna put all the work into studying it and then to pursue it, down the line as a career, like enjoy what you do. So, I would say that would be the first starting point. Is just thinking, what are you passionate about? What gets you excited? And go from there.
Awesome. The next question I'm going to pose is actually to Philandra. Knowing that the transition into university can be daunting if you're going into a bigger community, how did you find making friends or finding a social circle was for you?
I would say that firstly, I started off online, so it was kind of not as typical. But I did, as I said, I was able to take advantage of transition and orientation programs, such as Eagle Connect. So first point, I would say, try to get involved with all the orientation programs that they are, because you'll find that everybody there, they are in the same boat as you. They're entering into their first year, which kind of breaks down that barrier of similarity. So you can kind of bond over that. I would also say that's also one of my favorite parts about our campus, the fact that it is so small. It's inevitable that you're just going to continue seeing certain people over and over again. For example, I'm a commuter student, and I feel like I just spend time looking out and just saying, oh, I saw you on the bus, and I keep seeing you on the bus again. So sometimes you'll see people so often because the campus is so small, you're bound to just say, hi, I saw you in my class, or I saw you on the bus, or like I saw you sitting there. So like it kind of fosters community because our campus is small. And then you also have other opportunities that are within your course. Like, for example, we do have tutorials and practicals. I found that those are also key places to meet some of my friends here on campus. So practicals being labs, and then tutorials are basically additional sessions to the lecture hall. They kind of, to the regular lecture. So they basically complement what you've learned in the lecture, but in a smaller setting. So let's say you're coming from a lecture that maybe has 100 students, and tutorial, maybe it's 15 to 20 students. So naturally there's less students there and you're able to meet more people. So it's those small pockets of interactions that have kind of helped me make friends here on campus. And also through working experiences as well.
Thank you, Flandra. Just to add to that too, one thing just to think about, everybody technically transitions alone, but you are here going through the exact same feelings and emotions that everybody is going through. So even if you're nervous about it, putting yourself out there might make it a little bit easier for somebody else to actually find those connections with you. I remember even just sitting in classes, asking somebody a question, even though you're right beside each other, you may not be saying much because you're listening to a lecture or a tutorial. But for me, it was, I'm just going to put myself out there. I'm going to be one that asks that question first. I'll break the ice. It's hard sometimes to do that, but I would say just know that everybody's feeling those same feelings as you, and you're not alone through any of that, regardless of wherever you start. Especially when you think too, other individuals coming from around the world are coming to that same place as you are. So it's not even just within the same city or any kind of like province that you're looking for. But I think knowing that everybody's coming together as one, you're not alone.
Tara, can I add just a bit to that? I just think that students need to understand that post-secondary is that powerful opportunity to really build out your community. Meeting those people from different backgrounds, like Tara had mentioned, from all over the world, potentially, different programs, different perspectives. You know, many students find their closest friends and their strongest professional networks when they're in these 4 years of or however long you're in your post-secondary studies for. I still have friends today that I'm very close with that I met at university, and they're lifelong friends, and they're, you know, could be potential colleagues in the future, people that you lean on during your professional career as well.
Thank you. Next question. Flandra, I'm going to pose this to you. This is kind of on the topic of burnout, and I think you touched on this within your presentation. But how do you prevent yourself from optimizing for grades instead of for optimizing for growth?
Hey, this is a great question. And I think it kind of goes back to what April was saying about thinking about like what you actually enjoyed. And I feel like that was a pivotal point of like redirecting myself and transitioning back to psychology and biology. Because I feel like when I was in the molecular biology specialist program, I was really looking at like grade. Oh, my program sounds like it's really bold, it's really fancy. And I kind of forgot that I am the person that's taking the courses. And eventually when these courses are done, I will have to be the person that's working in a career there. So I would say in order for you not to be so focused on optimizing grades, you have to remember that you're the person in the driver's seat. And as April said, once you're done with this degree, you'll be the person in that career. You'll be the person looking to extend your professional development. So kind of refocusing on what it means to actually be studying. Like, where do you see yourself going with the studies? Not just what the A+ grade will be at the end, but more so what does that journey mean to you, and who is the person that you want to be at the end of that journey? So just re-gearing that focus back to yourself and the things that you actually enjoy.
Thank you. And then I have, and when you're taking, I'm going to pose this to Bianca. So somebody who might potentially be taking an English course. They have it from grade 11, but they haven't taken their grade 12 until second semester, I think, if I'm reading this question correctly. Happy to elaborate, and then Bianca, feel free if you want to jump in. So even if somebody, we do look at grade 11 and grade 12 marks. So you would have your grade 11 English mark that we would be reviewing within an application. If you don't have your grade 12 English yet, that's okay. A basis of admission could still be considered based on what your grade 11 marks are. It just depends on what those grades look like and if it is something that we could be giving early to an applicant. But it just depends on, I guess, what those grades look individually. So I would say when you're at that point, when you're applying, you're more than welcome to actually get in touch with the office. We're happy to look at your application directly to get any sort of guidance or understanding of what those grades look like currently, or like what you're aspiring from that. Bianca, do you want to add to that?
I just want to add, because there was a question here about summer school as well. So you can take courses, as I mentioned, throughout summer school if you're trying to, get ahead and things of that nature. But you want to have all of those courses or prerequisite courses completed by the end of your winter term. So by the end of your natural school year, you want to have those courses done as well. So you don't want to be taking these courses last minute, because sometimes there isn't an opportunity to be able to extend an offer without specific courses. So you want to make sure they're all done and taken care of by the end of your natural school year in grade 12.
Something came to my head, sorry. So specifically too, because it's also English, look at what the minimum cutoff is for either universities or colleges that you're applying to. Some of them have different variation in grades for what they look for. At U of T, you need at least a 75 within your university level English courses. So if it is something that you're not at that, I would recommend, if you need to take summer school to improve that grade, or if you're not even in grade 11 yet, you're trying to make sure that you have at least a 75, aim for that going into it. But like I mentioned too, if anything, you're worried or concerned what that application looks like for you specifically, feel free, just reach out to the office of the university or college that you're applying to, just so they can have a look at your application. Okay. Next question I'm going to ask. This one is basically around accessibility. So is UTM, is it wheelchair accessible? The answer is yes. This campus is very modernized. So I will put a plug out there that we are celebrating our 60th anniversary very soon. So knowing that this campus is not that old, everything is very modernized. If you haven't been to this campus, you'll see it for yourself when you're here. But I've been on this campus for 12 years and things have been building up while I've been here. Everything is very accessible on this campus.
Yeah, they've even retrofitted a lot of the washrooms. So there's washrooms now in the main meeting places that have a Hoyer lift or are specially designed for wheelchair users if you need that sort of thing. So yeah, they've definitely made a lot of upgrades.
Okay, I have another long question. I'm going to pose this both to Bianca and myself. What is the most common mistake students make in their application, and how does UTM particularly weigh GPAs versus extracurriculars and achievements?
I can start off, and then Tara, you can fill in any gaps that I may miss. I think one of the more common mistakes is not constantly checking their application. Students sort of apply, and if they think they've fulfilled all of the requirements, they forget about it and just assume they're going to be, it will take care of itself. So, being cognizant to check your documents, check your status is always important, and just making sure, not every day, but on a regular basis. Additionally, also making sure that you have met the requirements for what is required to be uploaded or submitted or what have you. So making sure that you're paying attention to what's being asked and that you provide what's being asked. That can also be one of an applicant's mistakes that I've seen. If a student is required to provide English proficiency, this is one of the requirements for some students. If this applies to you, you need to be cognizant of the timelines around that. So taking that test within a reasonable amount of time so that the results can be sent to the university and uploaded to your application portal.
Yeah, and the one thing I would say too is extracurriculars are very important still. So knowing that we look at academics primarily, in my opinion, I've worked with student staff almost my entire career, and I will say it builds on who you are for the skills that you're going to bring into whatever experience you're going to have, whether it's working on campus or beyond. Those experiences help you even into grad school or help you to articulate who you are as an individual that you're now bringing to the table into that career for you. I think I've seen a lot of students, what they first primarily will learn if they've come to university too, that maybe they haven't had experiences, and that's totally okay. Time management is always the number one thing I've seen anybody trying to manage with this. So while you're taking on other experiences and stuff too, also maintaining grades is very important. But just knowing how you balance that is just full rounded holistic experience for yourself to make sure that you're prepared for what you're taking on, but still get involved while you're here. Building your co-curricular records. For anybody who's not familiar with it, it's a record that is built for you within your university time, and colleges have it as well too. So it's just a record that shows what you were involved in, whether it was paid, volunteer. It just shows how you've gotten involved in this campus. And then by the time you go to graduate, there's also awards that you could be applying to. So it's a good chance for you to build who you are as an individual and how you made the most of your experience while you're at the campus that you're attending. Next question. I know we've seen this a lot within recruitment. The question is, can my application be considered if I plan to take English for You in the summer after finishing my grade 12th year, I'm going to assume? If you didn't take your grade 12 English, that's a part of you to actually graduate. So however you take it, whether it's maybe the summer before you go into grade 12, that's totally fine. You can do it online. Everything is treated the exact same way, whether you do it online, if it's homeschooling, if it's in the classroom, it's all treated the same within applications. But if you're doing it after your grade 12 year, that could be something of your decision, but you wouldn't be able to graduate unless you actually have that. Bianca, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and just even if it isn't like pivoting to if it's not English or any other course, it could also be too late for admissions purposes. So like I said previously, you want to have all your T's crossed, your I's dotted for meeting your high school graduation requirements by the end of your natural grade 12 end of year.
Awesome. And then this question I'm also going to pose as well. At what point should I start applying for university? Early and normal consideration. Bianca, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to start the applications for UTM or U of T will open mid-September. This is usually the very standard opening for all universities that are doing a fall intake. So that's when you're going to start that application process. You know, you can go to OUAC, you're going to start filling in all the, the personal information about yourself and then adding in where you've done your schooling, etc. And then that's when you're going to get access to our join application portal. And this is where you're going to be able to see the required documents. And this is when you can start that uploading process. So this is something that you can work on over the fall and prepare any additional documents should they be needed. And then that early recommendation deadline, for us, it was early November. And this is when if you're wanting to be considered for early application deadline, you'd want to have everything complete, submitted and in for consideration. And this gives the review committee time to review all of those completed applications. Now, I do want to mention that this doesn't necessarily mean that you would get an offer or a refusal or something to that effect in January when those first rounds of offers go out. It just means that we'll consider your application. They do look at, strong applicants and things of that nature. So if you don't get an offer in that first round, even though you completed for the early application deadline, that's not to worry at all. It just means that you weren't considered in that first round and that they would consider your application for the continued subsequent rounds that go out monthly.
And if I can throw it out there, if you are not familiar with the Ontario Universities Fair, this year it's taking place on September 18th and 20th. So it's over the weekend. It takes place at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre. All universities in Ontario attend this. So if it's something that you're just trying to explore and navigate right now for yourself, that's a good opportunity just to go and get information. Even if whatever grade you're in, it's a good time just to go and ask questions to everybody who has come to One Main Hub. Again, something for myself I didn't have access to even know that was a thing to go to. Some universities and colleges do attend high schools, but instead of them waiting to come to you, you have the opportunity to go and ask those questions and even just explore what they're looking for in applications. What are the grades? What are the prerequisites? Even when you start comparing different programs in different institutions, some of them do have different prerequisites. They're not consistent. So it's important to know what courses you need to have in grade 11 and grade 12. And then again, they'll also talk about how you should visit the campus. So once you've identified areas of interest, the courses that you've taken, you've gone to a fair, you've gone to done tours. I think at that point you would know what is setting you up for success. But yeah, there's a lot to consider, and it does come pretty fast. So ideally, if you're even in grade 10, start it early. It's never too early. When we were at the Ontario Universities Fair, there are grade 8s that show up there too, wanting to know what it is that we have that year, and that's okay. Things could change year to year, but it's giving you a good understanding of what does that next path look like for them at a very early on stage. Awesome. So there's a lot happening in the chat. So thank you for all these questions that are coming in. The next question I'm going to ask is it possible to explain in which situation would you look at grade 11 marks? Do you want to answer that, Bianca?
Sure. So because we require your 6 U or M level courses, most students at this point would not have satisfied that by the fall of their grade 12 year. So at this point, we would consider those grade 11s as a placeholder until those grade 12 marks are received. Let's say a student fast-tracked and did summer courses or, tried to get ahead of it, then if you have those grade 12 marks available, then we would look at the grade 12 marks that you have available, not go back into grade 11 in that instance. So if you have them and you fast-tracked and you've done extra courses, and you have all of your required courses in the grade 12 for grade 12, then great. But if you don't have them, then we will look back in your grade 11 as a placeholder until you get your grade 12 marks.
On a broader scope, because I also know a lot of individuals who've attended this webinar are mainly in Canada, different curriculums around the world have different timelines for this too. So it's not to say that what we see in an Ontario system is similar to what anywhere else around the world might have. There are times where final grades of grade 12 are not presented until April or May. So that becomes that we have to make a decision based on your grade 11 grades. Next question is very similar, just on the same point of admission. So Bianca, do universities look if you are in any special programs like IB, for an example?
It is considered. So we would look at all grades submitted. So any institutions attended you have to declare any kind of learning that's happened when you're filling in your OUAC application. So yes, we do consider any kind of additional education. Tara, you might want to build out on that a bit.
Yeah, I think regardless of any curriculum that anybody is taking, again, there are different education, I guess, like outlines that are out there. So everything that is basically on an academic transcript is reviewed. So if there is anything that either stands out that needs to be considered, we do look at that. I'm going to pose this question to Philandra. How do you approach structuring your time and energy to maximize both productivity and meaningful learning without letting stress undermine your progress?
Okay, that is a great question. I would say one of the major lessons I've learned, and I've compared myself in the first year to now getting onto these extra years, some of the strategies I've used. I feel like coming from high school, I was that student that would just sit down hours on end, just studying without getting up to take a break. But I'll actually say to you from my experience that there needs to be some time in your schedule, no matter how hectic it gets, that there's a time when you're taking a break from being in front of your screen and doing actual schoolwork. Maybe finding time to take a walk, finding time to do some activity that kind of gives your brain a break from doing work. Because I think what will happen as you're in university, because oftentimes it is a bit faster than the typical pace of high school, is that if you have that strategy where you sit and you don't really take much time to take breaks, or you feel that if you're taking breaks, you're not being productive, it will ultimately, for me, it ultimately led to my burnout because I wasn't really taking time to let's take a break from looking at this subject. And I found that now in my latter years, when I'm studying and I actually have taken breaks, I perform significantly better than sessions where I just sit down and just hyper focus on my work itself. So it's more about finding that time to value a break and just getting back in touch with yourself, whether that's a hobby or maybe if you want to have like more of a productive time, you can also look for, say, for example, maybe you're on campus, maybe there's different drop-in sessions that are happening. So after you're done your class, maybe you look around, maybe the Career Center is having a drop-in session, or maybe the Robert Gillespie Skills Center is having a drop-in session. So you can be on campus, you finish studying, and you kind of go drop in for an hour, do something different, and then go back into your study session. So just finding different ways to find productive breaks, if you will.
Can I ask you a personal follow-up question, Sandra? We just had one of our reading weeks, and we have reading weeks both semesters. I'm just curious, what do you do during reading week when there's no classes?
It's an interesting question. I would say, if I'm being honest, for majority of the reading breaks, I am doing a mixture of, I know it's supposed to be a reading break, it is working, and then oftentimes, sometimes maybe studying, but I think what I like to have is at least 2 to 3 days where I'm doing neither of the above, which is maybe sometimes going out or just sitting down and doing nothing, which to students, that might just seem like, oh my gosh, what do you mean sitting down and doing nothing? But I feel like if my reading break becomes too compiled with working, it kind of defeats the purpose of reading break. But I understand that as a student, naturally, sometimes we do still have to have days within the reading break where we're being productive. But even if it's just 2 to 3 days, it will make complete difference in how you feel coming back from breaks like that.
Thank you, Philandra. I appreciate that. April, I wanted to ask you a question. So the Career Center is available to any student that's here on campus. Do you mind giving us an overview of like the types of services that are available, like the activities that students might engage with, and what does it look like throughout the year for somebody to get engaged with the Career Center?
Yeah, for sure. So we have all sorts of workshops, drop-ins that happen all throughout the year. So your typical, resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, networking. We do mock interviews with students. So we run those all the time. So there's constantly workshops, drop-ins. If you just want to ask a quick question, you can just stop in and ask your quick question and go. We also do one-on-one appointments. So for students who really want to like dig into their resume with one of our employment strategists, they can sit there and dig in together, and they can help you either, craft it and tailor it to a job description. They can help you develop a job search plan. It's really what they need, what the student needs at that time. So we also have larger scale events. So I mentioned quickly in the presentation, we do 2 annual Get Hired fairs. So we do one in September and one in January. And they are kind of picture big fair, happens in the gym, a lot of tables, usually over 80 employers that come out, various industries, finance, tech, nonprofit, you name it. And these employers are coming because they want to hire our students and they want to work with us. So it's a great opportunity. I say to students, I'm like, even if you just want to go and talk, like even if you're not looking for a job, you're just like, go and talk to these people. It's a great chance to just practice those networking skills. But we also have alumni nights. So we just had one the other night for students in philosophy. So we brought in philosophy alumni and to talk about like, what are they doing now? So it's just a chance for students to kind of hear more about, different career paths and different opportunities, different things they can do with their career. Because, like I said, just because you go into philosophy doesn't mean you're going to become a philosopher. There's so many other different pathways. And so it's really important for students to be hearing those stories. And yeah, I tell students, like, even if, or I will hear this often in the workshops and things that I do, and students will say like, well, I don't know if I can book an appointment because I'm not really sure what question I need to ask. And I'm like, but no, that's the point. You should be booking the appointment. That's when we want to talk to you, because if you're not sure what to ask, we can kind of try and help you get there. And it sounds like you maybe need to have a conversation. So yeah, I always tell students, like, I'm out tabling, you'll see my face, you'll see Dino. We're often in the hallways, so come and say hello.
Thank you. And we are getting close to time, so I am going to ask one last question, and this is to Philandra. So knowing that you've experienced both online and in person, how do professors typically conduct exams or assignments for online courses, and how can I stay motivated and focused online?
Okay, so great question. So I've actually experienced a variety of ways in which you can get assessments online. I would say the courses that I took most recently in summer 2025, they were both fully asynchronous. So what that meant for one of them was that you actually had, say, for example, a 72-hour window in which you had time to complete that assignment. So you had within 72 hours to complete your midterm, and it was also the same for the exam for that course. So that was really, really flexible. In the other course, however, it was that there was a schedule time, say, for example, from 10 to 12, where like you had to be on a platform that we use here on campus known as Quarkus. And the examination and also the midterm was posted there. You'd start at 10 and then you end at, say, maybe 12, depending on how long the examination or the midterm was. And I do know, I haven't experienced it, that sometimes there are courses that the structure of the course is online, but sometimes the assessments, the finals, or maybe the midterms might actually be in person. So you just have to ensure that you're reading the syllabus in detail to know if your examination is going to be asynchronous, synchronous, or actually having to go in person for assessments. And for how to stay motivated and focused online, I know, yes, it can oftentimes be challenging because you're in the comfort of your home. I would say if you have the liberty to, try to switch around. For me in the summer, I found that sometimes I was in my room, sometimes I was in the kitchen, sometimes I was outside because it was summer. So kind of switching around the atmosphere that you're in while you're studying, even if you want to go, I know you're taking a course online, but if you're still by campus, you can still go to campus, go to the library, go to a cafe. Sometimes there were students there with their camera on, they were in cafes, just finding different environments that can promote productivity. And then also keeping detailed lists, which you do either the courses online or in person, keeping detailed lists of like all the deadlines and using a tracker that keeps you accountable. I know for me, that's Google Calendar. It sends those alerts and I'm suddenly like, oh, I have courses to do. And I'll just end by saying I also took an asynchronous course, which meant the onus was on me to watch those lectures. So they were pre-recorded. I would say trying to watch them all in one sitting sometimes might not be the best for you. So you can try to kind of break them down. If one lesson is like 4 recordings, kind of give yourself small goals. Oh, I'll do 30 minutes here and then later I'll return and do 30 minutes there. So just finding different ways to like be creative and kind of not induce stress while you're doing things online.
Thank you so much for all of those insights. Thank you, Bianca, April, and Flandra for spending time going through all the things that we spoke about tonight for mapping your education. I hope everybody enjoyed watching this. So thank you to our viewers for also joining us. And thank you specifically also to Jess, Karen, and Anita for answering all the questions that have come through the chat. This isn't the end for any of us on this online here. You're more than welcome to reach out to us after this webinar is over. And I also encourage everybody to come to campus. So we did mention March Open House is coming up. It is on Sunday, March 29th. For anybody who wants to come to campus, you'll see all of us there that day as well too. So we look forward to seeing everybody and I hope you have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your night.